The assassination of Charlie Kirk was always going to be politicized, both on the right and on the left. Kirk was the brash founder of Turning Point USA. He built his reputation on being the agent provocateur. He compared abortion to the Holocaust. He defended gun rights as worth the cost of gun deaths. And he even dismissed parts of the Civil Rights Act as a mistake. His Christian nationalist outlook drove a hard-line stance when it comes to immigration, being anti-Islam, and of course promoted conspiracies from the Great Replacement rhetoric and the claims of course, the 2020 election being stolen, etc. To his critics, he was a reckless man, he was cruel, and to his supporters, he was bold and unflinching. But the anger, when he was gunned down in Utah, many conservatives wasted no time in pointing fingers to left-wing radicals, left-wing extremism, and that was something that was fanned right from the White House, right from President Trump himself to all his top lieutenants.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America?
The political assassination of right-wing influencer and podcaster Charlie Kirk has opened a raw wound in the social fabric of America. Over the weekend, there were fierce views exchanged on social media by folks on both the left and the right. Left-wing posters on social platforms were reveling in Kirk's death and suggesting that he got what he deserved. On the right-wing side, initially there were expressions of grief and shock, but soon enough there were open calls for political reckoning and for vengeance. There were ominous proclamations that America was on the brink of civil war. Governor Spencer Cox of Utah provided new information about the background and the political leanings of the 22-year-old suspect, Tyler Robinson, who has been arrested now by the FBI. The governor said that Tyler had a leftist ideology and that he had also been in a romantic relationship with his roommate, who the governor claimed was in the process of transitioning from male to female. Tyler Robinson was a very normal young man who appeared to have been radicalized sometime after he dropped out of college and then moved back to his hometown in southern Utah. But the governor gave no further details.
He does come from a conservative family, but his ideology was very different than his family, and so that's part of it. We do know that the roommate that we had originally talked about, we can confirm that roommate is a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female.
Charlie Kirk was outspoken on a variety of hot topics: race, gun control, abortion rights. He spoke in ways that often stoked controversy. A conservative Christian, he was also an outspoken critic of gay and transgender rights. He used to debate those who were opposed to his views on college campuses. That's how his company, Turning Point USA, became famous, and Kirk became a close Trump ally.
Our 18 to 22-year-olds.
Ideological opponents often challenged Charlie Kirk on his anti-transgender views when he visited college campuses to engage students in an open-air debate. Kirk was answering a question about transgenders and mass shootings at the Utah Valley University last week when he was shot dead with a single bullet.
Great.
President Trump, after being visibly shocked at Kirk's assassination, is now escalating his attacks on his political opponents in the wake of the killing. He has placed the blame squarely for the political violence on Democrats, and he's also signaled a broad crackdown coming on both critics and left-leaning institutions. Trump, in fact, blamed the radical left almost immediately after Kirk was shot dead. He promised to find those responsible for political violence, as well as the organizations that fund and support them.
Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
Kirk's killing is having a deep moment of reckoning on the other side of the Atlantic as well. In London, tens of thousands of demonstrators marched through the heart of the city in a rally organized by the far-right activist Tommy Robinson. The protests were huge, and the London police were clearly ill-prepared for the sheer number of people who turned up. There were sporadic clashes between the protesters and the police, which put the British capital, in fact the entire British nation, on the edge. Elon Musk, who helped raise Tommy Robinson's profile last year, said that the left was the party of murder, and he urged protesters to fight back. In fact, he said Britain must dissolve its parliament right now. Clearly, he was also referring to the killing of Charlie Kirk on the other side of the Atlantic, which was reverberating at the weekend London protests.
And then you see how much violence there's on the left, with our friend Charlie Kirk getting murdered in cold blood this week, and people on the left celebrating it openly. The left is the party of murder and celebrating murder. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. That's who we're dealing with here.
Under the banner Unite the Kingdom, they marched across the Thames, past the Big Ben, amidst a sea of Union Jacks and English flags. Some carried placards which called for the open deportation of asylum seekers who had crossed the English Channel illegally.
They have underestimated us for so long. And time again, every time they think they beat us down, we come back stronger. Look at these crowds, man. You are here because you love your country. We rode the storm, we weathered the storm, and today we are the storm.
It was a muscular display of support for Tommy Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, a divisive figure who's roamed on the fringes of British right-wing politics for decades now. He served multiple prison sentences. Most recently, he was in jail after being sentenced to 18 months in prison for defying a court order by repeatedly making false claims about a teenage Syrian refugee who he had falsely accused of raping a British girl. Robinson was released early in May after a court reduced his sentence to 7 months. He vowed then to organize a free speech festival for his supporters. But that took on a much greater proportion, a much greater resonance after the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk at the Utah Valley University last week. Early in his career, Robinson founded what was called the English Defence League, a nationalist anti-Muslim group known for its violent street protests back in the 2000s. His profile has gone up and down since then, but last year, Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and the owner of the social platform X, championed Robinson's case. Musk pinned the slogan "Free Tommy Robinson" to his feed on X, and that naturally amplified his case around the world. But virtually everyone, whether in America or in Britain, agree that Charlie Kirk's violent death and the reaction to it, both in America and in Britain, have reopened a festering wound about the direction in which their respective countries are headed. The events of the last few days only seem to confirm a deep fear amongst the majority white population in the West that something is seriously wrong in the economic and political trajectory of their countries. In America, it was not just about gun violence. Instead, Charlie Kirk's death at just 31 symbolized for many the collapse of a basic, common sense, almost undebatable American value. And that is, expressing a political opinion should not have to cost your life. That's a sentiment shared in Britain as well, howsoever racist, homophobic, or even anti-immigrant one might be.